All right, here we go. I am so excited to welcome to AGB Talks Reagan Sipla. She is a really, really strong basketball player in the St. Charles area, just committed D1. And I had an opportunity to get to know her, watching her coach my son on Sundays and just loving her energy and the way she approaches things. And, we've been doing so many different pieces of content with coaches and parents and other professionals. And I thought, let's get a young athlete who's right in the heart of her career to come on and talk to us. So thank you so much for coming on, Reagan. How you doing?
Good. Thank you so much for having me. I can't wait. I definitely enjoyed coaching at I-9. I find just so much joy in like coaching young kids, paying it forward. Because I remember when I used to look up to all like the high school kids or the college kids that would ever come and coach me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it is really cool. And I think that's a good place to start because you typically don't see that a ton. Like you'll see people that are like really focused on their own career at your age and then do the give back thing later, or even if they are at a camp or a clinic, they're just doing it to make a buck, but they're not really invested in teaching the kids. And I noticed that from you. You really took the time to like show those little kids how to dribble the ball the right way and all that good stuff. So is that something that you're intentional about?
Yes, for sure. Again, it's something I would do for free. Like over the summer, I got to give private lessons to a young girl who would come and watch our high school games and her sister. And that just, it meant so much to me just to be able to, spread my knowledge, but also just be like a role model for younger athletes because I just feel like it's such an important part of growing up and wanting to get better. You find out if you really want it. And obviously, like, it's just like the start of their journey. So I think it's super cool.
Yeah, that's crucial, man. And I think that's a perfect segue to the first thing I want to talk about, right? So we're coming out with a course that's going to help young people get recruited, right? We want parents, coaches, and athletes to sort of, take a collective deep breath and understand that the process of getting recruited is really in their hands. It's not as complicated as people think, or it's not as impossible as you think, but it does take some stuff, right? You have to be a certain thing. So I want you to be honest and talk to us a little bit about your journey and the things you're looking forward to going into college ball and looking back and reflecting on high school ball. So let's start with attitude, right? That's something that I am big on. We want to teach people to approach their game with confidence. So talk to me about your attitude as a player. Who are you?
Yeah, I would just say the biggest thing for my attitude is just number one, being hardworking and always persevering. Like everything is not going to go great all the time. And it's just important to know like that's when you pick your head up and that's when you go at it again. And I would just say another big thing is just to be super coachable. Like take the feedback that your coaches give you, but more importantly, like seek feedback. Find like the things that you can do to get better as an individual for your team. Like if it's with a trainer, then find out what you can work on. If it's with your team of a coach, I would just say like find what you can do to like get your role on the team, what you can do to provide for the team, and just like build off of that. If you want to change it, if you want to continue that, I would just say like know where you stand and then figure out where you want to go.
So you say that, right? And it just rolls off the tongue, like be coachable, right? And as a coach, that's something I would say all the time. But we know that's not as easy as it sounds. Like let's dig into that a little bit. Why what is an athlete resistant to coaching? If I called you over at a timeout and I said, hey Reagan, I need you to get back on defense and box out more, what incentive would you have to say, I don't want to listen to you?
Right. I think sometimes like when athletes do that, it's them like almost in an instinct of just protecting themselves and wanting, thinking that they're right first, which it's understandable to, want to defend yourself. But I think like maturing and like through basketball is just realizing like, wait a minute, let me take what they said into consideration and just really understand how that's going to make me better. Like just having just like the thoughts and the idea of like I want to be better and just really going about it that way.
So how much pressure do you put on me as a coach to make sure I approach you the right way, right? So like coach A comes up to you and says, hey Reagan, I think you should really box out and get back on defense. And coach B comes back to you and says, Reagan, get the frick back on,
Yeah.
like are you responding to both coaches the same, or are you putting some emphasis on the coach to approach you in the right way?
I think it is definitely important for like the coach to approach it like a player the right way. But for me, like I've just played through like a lot of different coaches. So I've just learned to understand both. Like if they're going to yell at you, you nod your head, you think about it, okay, I'll do it next time. If they talk to you about it, like slower, different way of thinking about it, and then the change to make. So I think it's just more of like a player coach relationship, understanding how they'll coach you and just like know what's behind it. Cause most of the time it's just the coach wanting you to be able to succeed better. So
Yeah, yeah, I dig that. So, have you had, because I want to get into like players and referees and parents and all that stuff, but let's stay on coaches for a second. Have you had in your journey a challenging relationship with a coach? And this is not a gossip channel, so don't name the
yeah.
coach you have.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
it is an honest channel, right? I do want to, I don't want it
Mhm.
to be like all rainbows and butterflies. So have you ever had a challenging relationship with a coach where you look to move on, or have you always adjusted and been like, hey, he's the ocean, I'm the boat, I'm going to move my sails to fit him or
I
her?
would say like, yeah, there's definitely like been some challenges, which I feel like it's like natural in any type of situation with a player and a coach like that. But I feel like it's also about to like you can talk to your coach, like you can have discussions, you can meet with them and just kind of figure out who's on what page and like what they're thinking because I mean, even though if it's not the best situation, like I'm sure they still have the best interest for you. So just knowing about how like you both can go better about that, I think is important too.
Cool. All right, so we got the coaches. So we know you have a coachable attitude. That's important, right? D1 athlete, coachable attitude is almost a prerequisite. You have to have it, right? Now, talk to us about teammates. What's your approach to your teammates, right? Now, you're a successful athlete. You're one of the better players on every team you've been on for quite some time now. So, are you dealing with haters? Are you dealing with jealousy? Are you first to the like? Are you getting along with everybody? Talk to me about your attitude towards teammates.
Yeah, I would say the main thing just for me at least is just to always be like super encouraging and like build people up just because I think that goes such a long way. Like even in practice or a game, like just knowing that one mistake isn't the end of the world. Because I know for myself, like, oh, if I miss a shot and my teammates are like, you're good, you got the next one. Like it's just like a boost to yourself. So I feel like boosting everyone else around you is just super important to make the team come together. And in a lot of my experiences, like I can think of my last AAU team that I was on, we were all like super close, super encouraging to each other. Like we had a talented team and I feel like we really like got the most out of it. Like we all came together really well.
Yeah. Yeah, and like everything, that's also not easy to do. We're all trying to, move ahead in our careers and get noticed and everything like that. And so sometimes we think the best way to get noticed is to focus on myself. But you would say the opposite, right? A lot of times the best way to get noticed is to focus on your teammates and how well we get along. Because if we're all playing well, we're all going to get noticed, right?
For sure, for sure. And I feel like that was something that really stood out to me at least in our last AU season. Like obviously we all want to get recruited. We're all playing in college somewhere. So I just feel like for us to be able to like come together, recognize each other's strengths, play well together, and most importantly, like have fun off the court too. Like we would get along at team meals and it was just a genuine connection we all had with each other that I feel like really made it special.
You ever had any playing time beef? Like
Um,
you ever been on a team where you're playing less than you really wanted to be?
I mean, there has been like in my younger years where like sometimes that would happen, but it's also like important to realize like if I was a freshman on a 17U team, then that that can happen. So I just feel like and everyone too I feel like wants to play and like fight out for whose minutes are whose. So I feel like it's just important to know what you can bring, know what everyone else can bring and just show who you are.
So give me that advice, right? I'm 12, 13 years old, and I'm playing on a team. I think I should be playing more. I'm frustrated. What do I do?
I would say like first step is do a little bit of a self-evaluation. Like, okay, what have I been doing in practice? What have I been doing in games? And then just like check your attitude, check how you've been like to your team, to your coach. And then I would just say like really believe in yourself and have confidence. Like you know what you want, you know how you feel. So just I would say find like a plan. Like if it's a way that you need to like talk to the coach, figure out what you need to do different, or if it's just, hey, I need to step up, I need to work harder, like maybe I need to get in the gym more, or I need to do this or that. Just finding where the problem is and then how you're going to change it.
I love that. I love that. I think some people that are listening are going to be thinking that I'm planting these answers for you because you're saying all the things that we teach all the time, but I'm not planting these answers. But I do think that what you're saying are the things that we know to be true of high level players. And it's so interesting that the talented players who also mix the really strong attitude things are the ones that make it the furthest, right? Um, So, all right. So we got our coaches, we got our teammates. Yeah. How are you dealing? What's your attitude towards blown calls? Right. I mean, you got fouled and the
Mhm.
ref doesn't call it, or you had verticality, you didn't touch the girl and they called the foul. What's your approach to that?
Sometimes obviously it's frustrating in the moment, especially, tight game, the pressure's on. So you feel it and it's frustrating, but I feel like for myself, like I'm just like, okay, like deep breath, it's one call, like next play, next whatever it is. Just like moving on from it and like recognizing, yeah, it was a mistake, but just like figuring out what I can do next because ultimately, what's done is done and you can't change that.
Yeah. Do you have like like a philosophy, like something that you like, it's for you, it's not even about the situation, it's like I'm always going to say good call ref, or are you just basically conscious of your behavior?
I would just say being conscious of my behavior. Like, I can like think about like, oh, that was not the right call, but I'm just gonna like put it in self, like, and just let it go.
Yeah. um do you what are your thoughts on trash talk?
Well, I feel like I don't really start trash talk, but
Yeah.
I mean, I think if other players like start it and it is what it is, I feel like it's just like part of the game, a thing people do. I feel like, AU, high school, it's always happened. So
Mhm.
I feel like it's just one of those things.
Does it get you going, like if someone's being like, because when you're already recruited, you've already committed, then um well, I guess I won't put that in your mind. I'll ask you, as someone who's already committed and someone who's already got a name for being good, does your reputation precede you? Like, do you go to the games and they're already anticipating, like, riding you pretty hard and not allowing you to shoot an air ball? They're going to be hard on you in the crowd. Like, is that happening to you, or is it just like they're treating you like everybody else?
Yeah, it happens sometimes, I would say. Yeah, whether it's like, like sometimes the student section, what they're always going to say. And I feel like just like knowing what to expect, like, that's going to happen. So the next step is just figuring out like, how am I going to approach that? So I just know like what's on the court is what matters. Like if other people say things, that's on them. And then just like knowing inside, I feel like the biggest thing is just having like self-confidence. Like, you know what you're doing, you know what you're capable of. So just not to let other things get put into your head.
Yeah. Now you're a knockdown shooter, right? And every coach in the country is looking for those. And so are you finding are people guarding you different now, knowing, just how dangerous you are from deep? Like, are you getting face guarded, and is any of that frustrating to you?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's an adjustment to make. Like sometimes it's like it's what I've always been doing, it's what I do best. But, knowing that it's coming and making adjustments is important. And I feel like in this last high school season, I've been scoring in like a variety of ways. Like, I always was a shooter and I still am, but I feel like finding ways to score at the basket, finding the right passes to make, getting mismatches inside, just like different things that open up your game for yourself, but also just like your whole team.
Yeah.
So,
So I know it's maybe difficult for you as a senior in high school to give advice to parents, but I want you to try. Okay. So
okay.
but tell me, what is your best advice to parents on how they should approach their young athlete that has the same goals that you had? Is it, you know, hey, they drive and they should be pushing the athlete, or is it, hey, let off the gas a little bit and let the athlete do the driving? What is your thoughts?
I would say really let the athlete do the driving. Like they know what they want. Like, and as a parent, I feel like it's really important just to be supportive. Like, shout out to my parents. Like, they did a lot for me, like driving me to practice, doing all that. And like, they were nothing but supportive for me. And like, they really had my best interest, like looking out for what to do, like giving advice. There are certain things like on and off the court, like I couldn't have done it without them. So I just like having a good supportive relationship and being able to like take advice from parents. And then parents just sometimes like, knowing like when to give advice or like when to take a step back or when to take a step in, just like knowing their place, I feel like.
So let me play devil's advocate a little bit, right? I'm a parent. My kid's only 7, right? You met him, right? You know AJ.
Yeah.
So AJ says to me, "Hey, Dad, I want to be a basketball player." And at 7, I'm just like, "Okay, that's fine. Let's go to I-9. Let's have some fun, that kind of thing." But let's say he's 12 and suddenly he's playing more video games than he is dribbling the basketball, right?
Mhm.
So my old school brain, my dad brain says, I'm going to push him and be like, "Hey, put that controller down and get outside and dribble." And then my new school coaching kind of like AGB thing says, it's not really going to work if I'm the one that's making him do it, right? If he,
Mhm.
so how do I balance those things? If he says he wants to be great, and then I see him playing more video games than he is working on his craft, isn't it my responsibility as dad to push him towards greatness, or what would you say?
I would say, like, if you know that's what he wants and that's what he says, like, that's just where you say, like, "Is this really getting you where you wanna go?" Like, ultimately, you have to remind him, like, he has to be the one to do the work. He has to be the one to wanna, get extra shots, extra reps, whatever it is. But it's like if they make that choice or, like, anyone's kid makes that choice, then that's kind of on them. Like, and then that's where you're telling yourself, like, "I really don't wanna be great. I just wanna do it." So it's just about, like, making that choice and, like, what's right in the moment might not be what's right for your goals.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good advice, and I think that there's parents on both sides of that, right? There's some that absolutely understand that and they want that, and then there's people that do that to a fault, right? They're too laissez-faire and relaxed about what their kids are doing, and then they wonder why they're not getting the results that they want. So striking that balance is hard, and I know that, and that's one of the things that we're trying to help at AGB. So if you're a parent and you're asking those questions all the time and you want some help, that's why we're here. So click the link that's connected to this video, and we're happy to help. Give you some advice. But it's so good to hear from athletes directly on that experience. So, all right, let's move on to academics. Right, this is in some cases everybody's least favorite subject when it comes to what it takes to get recruited. But let's talk about it. What is your approach to school? How important has that always been to you? And what advice do you have for young people?
For myself, like, it's always been super important, like, it's been one of my top priorities, like, throughout high school and even, like, middle school, like, I've been taking, like, advanced classes and then high school, like, AP classes, because to me, like, it's super valuable and important, like, eventually, like, the ball will stop bouncing, so you wanna figure out, like, what you're gonna do after. So, I would also say too, like, some people it's been different, but for the most part, just, like, knowing what you're capable of and, like, holding yourself to that standard, like, obviously, sometimes it can be hard to manage time with like a lot of practices or training and schoolwork, but just getting down like to a good routine will just help you throughout so many different parts of your life, I feel like.
Are you driven to do well academically because it's connected to your athletic goals, or are they two separate goals as far as you're concerned?
I would say to me they're kind of connected. Also too with my personality, sometimes I can be like a perfectionist, so
Mhm.
I always like want everything to like be the best that it can be. But I feel like somewhat because it's connected. Like I know that like basketball is my passion and my life, but I also want to do school and need to do school because it's necessary and it's something like I enjoy it.
Yeah, that's good. What what correlation is there for you on boredom? Like, how much emphasis do you put on the subject matter being exciting and something that you want to learn versus it's just part of the gamut? I got to do this. Like, are you more engaged in the subjects that you're passionate about than the ones that you're not?
I would say, like, yeah, like, I'm definitely, like, find more joy in doing things that I like, but also too, that's where I, like, know, "Okay, this isn't my favorite, this isn't something I wanna do, but it's something I need to do." So that's just kinda, like, the shift in the attitude that I have that I have to do it regardless, so I might as well try to put some fun into it.
The thing I hear a lot, I used to be a dean of students at a high school, and now I'm an AD at a college, and so I work with students all the time. And the thing you hear the most is, "Coach, I'm not going to use this when I graduate. I don't need to." And I know, and all of the adults in the world that are honest know that that's actually true. Like no one's using calculus in their 30s, like unless you're a scientist. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, uh, have you ever allowed that thought to creep in? And if you do, how do you overcome it?
I mean, yeah, sometimes, if it's something I don't understand, I'll be like, "When am I ever gonna use this?" But
Mhm.
to me, like, that's where I realized, like, okay, like, it is for a grade, it's something I, again, have to do. So I just feel like knowing too that, like, those, like, like, problem-solving skills, I guess you could say, or, like, working through it, like, that's the skill that you get from that. So just knowing that you're getting some benefit from it, even if it's not, like, the material itself.
Yeah. Is your approach to teachers identical to your approach to coaches as far as like before you were saying with coaches, like you just adjust to them and you're
Mhm.
coachable. Do you take that same attitude to the classroom?
I would say yes. Like, I really try to, like, make connections with my different teachers, like, I know they all have different teaching styles, they're all different people. So just knowing, like, how I can adjust to them and, like, knowing the style of relationship and, like, where I'd get the best benefit from that.
It's awesome. All right, so we got two knockdowns. So you got a recruitable attitude. Uh, Coaches come to see you play. They see a coachable kid who's going out there and competing, encouraging their teammates, working well with the officials. Then you've got your academics intact, right? You're getting good grades. You're engaged with your teachers, whether you love the subject or not. And so now let's get into the fun part. Let's just talk about the game, like just the athletics approach to the game. So talk us through your journey from like the first time you picked up a basketball to the point where you were like, I'm pretty dang good at this. Talk us through.
So I started playing basketball, like I cannot even remember, like since I was little, like picked up a basketball and I loved it. And then I played other sports as a kid, but basketball since like elementary school, beginning of that has always just been my favorite sport, which I took after from my dad. I used to be in the basement doing dribbling drills, like in a little dress as a little kid, having so much fun just dribbling around. So I feel like since that moment, like I've really taken off, and then I started playing like YMCA or like rec league, what all little kids do. And then I started playing travel basketball in 4th grade. And I feel like from that point, like that's when like, yeah, I'm doing this. I know this is what I want to do. And from there, I feel like that's when I started, doing more training, doing like lifting or like body training like that. And then just going from there, I feel like putting my whole life into it because it's something like I love to do, but also something I wanted to do. So I feel like from that moment, like stemming, like that's always just stayed with me as I've went through that. And then obviously next year I'll be in college playing basketball, which I'm excited for that too.
So, so the game's never been a chore to you?
No, for me, it's just been something I love. Like I'm the type of person I could go in a gym and just shoot all day. So to me, it's just something I've always enjoyed. And even though there's been like rough patches, it's just, I always like remind myself, like at the end of the day, it's just because I love the game so much. So.
Yeah. All right. So you say, okay, 4th grade, you start playing competitively pretty seriously. What year did you get a trainer?
Um, I want to say it was like around then. Then I started doing like extra training, other training, and then throughout middle school, like I'd prioritize that. And then, I've used like Coach David, as you know, and then Coach Steve, who's also my AAU coach. So both of them, and then just like a variety of people too. And then I use like Kale for like sports performance training, so like speed, strength, agility, and which all of them have just been such a great help to me.
So I have a couple follow-ups on that. First, shout out to David Brown, a mutual friend of ours, and we did a podcast with him to start off the channel. So we'll try to link that to this one. If you guys want to hear from one of the better trainers in the Chicago suburbs, David Brown is there. So let's talk, more than just giving David his flowers. Talk to me about like, what are you looking for in a good trainer? What makes one trainer better than the other?
I would just say like really building a good relationship and like accountability while you're in there. Just like I feel like in general, knowing what you need to work on, like how you should do it, and just like really getting everything out of you and the best out of you, like in those sessions, like giving you stuff to do outside of sessions. Like I feel like that's been a common thing of all the trainers I've used. Like every time I'm in there, like I like it, I'm having fun, but also like I'm getting all my work in. Like I'm doing all the things that I should be doing, that I need to be doing to get me to the next level.
I know when I was doing the training a lot, one of the things I tried to do is try to make sure that we had a mix of things that you were comfortable with, things you were already good at, that we were gonna rep until you got, just pristine. And then things that you've never done before, challenging things that made you uncomfortable. Is that something you would put a lot of emphasis on? Do you like being uncomfortable at some point during the training session?
Yeah, I definitely put a very big emphasis on that. Like over the summer, I really wanted to also like better my ball handling. So like obviously I'd work on still shooting, like coming off screens, catching and shooting, dribbling and shooting, but also just working on like dribbling into my shot or like dribbling to attack or make a play off of that and like in one-on-one situations. And it didn't always go great at first, but I feel like that's how you get better at it. Like that's how you take the next step.
Yeah. Yeah, one of my favorite things about watching you play is the efficiency, right? It's not like you're not doing things with, 15, 20 dribbles at a time. It's really kind of like catch it, shoot it, catch it, 2 dribbles, pull up, catch it, get into the paint, kick it to your teammate. Um, is that something that you're intentional about, keeping the game pretty simple? Or is that something that you're training for? Or is it just the way you've always played?
Definitely like a mix of both. Like that's just how I've always like played myself. But I feel like in training, it's like what I work on because it's what transfers for me in a game. Like I like know what I'm gonna do. Like that's how I play. That's my style. Like there's other people that take a lot of dribbles, really crafty, but I just play a certain way where like I train with like minimal dribbles. I use minimal dribbles in a game just because like I know what my strengths are, so I want to play to that.
That's awesome. I think what we'll try to do is when we're done talking, I'm going to go get some of your highlights and we'll connect them to the podcast. So that way,
Okay.
people can just click down and watch you play, because it's a good thing to hear from you and just, be able to talk things out. But I think young people can just learn from watching too.
Mhm.
So talk to me about that. Who are some of the people that you look up to that you're watching uh,
Mhm.
to develop your game?
Yeah, I really enjoy watching like Caitlin Clark and Jewel Lloyd. I'd say those are definitely like my top two players that I watch now. I just like I love both of their like aggression to score, but also just like playing like playmaking in general. Like obviously like Caitlin Clark has the super deep range. She hits all those shots. So that's something I look up to because I just want to find like more ways to score off of a three. And then Jewel Lloyd, I feel like just has like three-way scorer, and she's super impressive in the WNBA. So I really look up to both of them.
So, and I think I'm so glad you mentioned that name, and I just think she's such a fascinating person, because um, I've coached boys basketball, I've coached girls basketball, and I always try to emphasize the fact that when it comes to greatness doesn't have a gender. It's
Mhm.
just you either want to be great or you don't. And but I'm going to play devil's advocate with myself and say that sometimes on the female side of the sport, it's like society doesn't really encourage you to put all of your eggs into an athletic basket, right? If a
Yeah.
guy's doing that, it's all good. And if a female's doing that, it's like, oh, but you have other things, and one day you're going to start a family, and that sort of thing. And I just think that's such an antiquated way of looking at it. And Caitlin Clark is like bursting that ceiling open. She's
Mhm.
like, oh, I'm a shooter, and I'm going to be every bit as dynamic as Steph Curry or anybody else that's playing. And I think she's inspiring girls all around the country. Would you
Mhm.
agree?
I would agree with that for sure. And also too, I just feel like in general, like her confidence about herself, like the way that she plays, like she knows what she's capable of and like she proves it every time. So I just feel like in general, like how she acts and just how she plays is like a good role model for people.
Yeah. I guess we kind of already talked about this a little bit, Reagan, when I asked you if you how you feel about trash talk, but I'm gonna bring it more specific to the Caitlin Clark and the young lady from LSU. His
Angel
name,
Reese.
yeah, Angel Race, right? So they get after it in the national championship, and that was such an exciting moment for women's basketball. And the whole "you can't see me" thing. How do you feel about that? Did you feel like, hey, all is fair in war? Angel was winning. She's able to say that. Do you think it was a little petty? What are your thoughts?
I mean, there's definitely obviously like two sides to opinions, but like my personal thought is, it's something that happened in the game. Like both girls obviously like weren't bothered about it themselves. So I just feel like it's one of those things. It's like it happens in the game, like heat of the moment, and just kind of one of those moments where it just happens.
Yeah. Yeah, I say let them play. I say let them play, let them be competitive, let them our people who've played our game at a high level understand how much emotion there is in it.
Mhm.
And I think other people who watch it might have an opinion on how we should act, but
Yeah.
when you drain a three from far in a training situation that you've done over and over again, then you do it on a big stage. I mean, there's just a rush of adrenaline that you can't, you know, there's just no words for it.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, all right. So I want to make sure we get all of the athletic things down, because I want to make sure this is helpful content for young people who are aiming to be the next Reagan Sipla, right? And so let's talk to the discouraged athlete. All right. So
Mhm.
somebody is right now really frustrated with their growth. They've got a trainer and they're trying, but they're just not climbing the ladder as fast as they want to. What words of encouragement do you have for them?
I would just say, like, really believe in yourself, and I know that's something, everyone says, and it's just, like, a term thrown around, but genuinely, like, I really believe that makes a difference because ultimately, like, you can't let others get you down, like, it's your journey, it's your game, like, and everyone goes at different rates, like, just knowing that because something isn't working right now, like, doesn't mean it's not gonna work at all. Like, just because, it's slower than someone else doesn't mean that you're worse, like, you just have to know, like, "I can do this," like, "I'm capable of this," and like really like genuinely believing in yourself, like knowing the next steps you can take. I just feel like that's the most important because it does make a difference how you play.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I think that you will go far in life if you continue to take that approach to, even as you're moving forward, keep looking behind and seeing who you can bring with you. Let's talk about the balance of it all. All right. So to be a shooter, you got to get shots up. All right. So you're working with trainers, you're doing all that. Then you're also a good student. Where are you at with the social life, and how are you balancing all of that with your mental health and just staying in a positive mindset?
Hmm. I would say like sometimes it can be a lot. It feels like it's like the same day over and over. But I just feel like you have to learn to like find joy and find balance. And something I've gotten better with, like especially over the course of like high school in these 4 years, is just knowing like time and place. Like every day, like during the school week, I would have either practice or training. Like I would make it a priority. Like yeah, I need to shoot after, and then I need to study or I need to do my homework. Like I also too use like a planner and I physically like write out what I'm gonna do or like the timing for it because I feel like that helps me stay like mentally focused and just not like overwhelmed with all the stuff I have to do. And then socially, like I also think that's like a priority. Like you should make time for that. Just have like a well-rounded time. Like if after like say on a Saturday night, like you hang out with friends or Friday night you hang out with friends, like if you get everything you need in, like your shooting, your workouts, your homework, like you can feel like relieved and it's like a reward. So I feel like just having a good balance and like knowing how to manage that like makes it fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I agree with that. Um, when have you ever gotten to that place where you yourself are the discouraged one?
I have, yeah. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, this is a lot, or like, geez, like, I had a bad game, and I feel like it can like take a lot out of you because like, you doubt yourself. But I feel like that's like a short-lived thing because you know what you've done before, you can do it again, and like you're only getting better if you're doing the things you should be doing. So I feel like it's just about like taking a moment, realizing, what happened, and then moving on. Like I feel like that's the biggest thing too. Like my dad always says like tough times don't last, but tough people do,
That's right.
which like I always think about that.
Yeah, that word tough, right? So it means different things to different people. Talk. I'm not going to feed you too much with that question. So tell me what it means to you.
To me, like it means a lot. It's something I think about all the time. Like, I mean, it can apply to a lot of things. Like sometimes, if you're having a bad shooting day or you're just not playing like yourself, it's one of those things that, it sucks, but then it's like mentally you can be tough and get through it. Or say like physically, like I've had a sprained ankle before and it's like, oh shoot, like this sucks. Like now I have to be out or now I can't do this or that. But it's just like, hey, like it is what it is. Like next step. Like I feel like that's the other big thing. It's just knowing there's next step, knowing there's a future. So just working towards that.
Awesome. All right, so let's talk about the action steps, right? So
Mhm.
so being really good at your sport. I mean, really good at your craft, having a coachable attitude that people want to gravitate around, and then having really good academics. If you just do those three alone, would you say that it's true, just those three alone, without doing anything else, that the scholarships will come to you? I think
Sort
there's
of. I feel
some
like
work we got to
yeah.
do.
Yeah, I feel like there is some work you have to do, like recruiting wise. Like once you either like start getting recruited or you want to start getting recruited, there's just some like other things that go into it. Like you yourself have to put in some effort, and then when you have like coaches reaching out to you or you have like you're getting recruited and you're going on visits, you just have to like be able to take in like how will I succeed like if I'm here next year? Like you think about that or in a couple of years, like whenever you're, visiting, and then I would say like if you're on the phone with coaches, like just building that relationship, like when you text them, just try to get a vibe for like who they are, who their program is, like where you would fit in.
Yeah. So, like I said, we at the offset, we're putting together a course called Get Recruited. We're going to put a link to that here in this discussion, and we're going to answer all these questions for you. We're going to talk about academics, athletics, attitude, and then we're going to finish with the action steps and all the things that we need to do. And we know that ultimately you've got to get your social media tight. You got to get your highlight film well. You, like Reagan was saying, you have to know where to go. How to talk to coaches on these visits. So let's talk about each one of those one at a time, Reagan. Let's start with your social media. What are you doing with your social media, and how intentional are you with it?
I'd say, like, very intentional. Obviously, not to post things that, you wouldn't want others to see, but also just Twitter itself, like, I feel like it's really powerful tool for recruiting because, coaches follow you, coaches see that, evaluators see that, coaches see that, high school coaches see that, players see that. Just like knowing that everyone sees that, so you want to be able to put out like a good image of yourself. Like for myself, I just keep like my Twitter is like all basketball, all relating to that, and I feel like it's helpful. Like people can see your videos, people could like see your write-ups. So I feel like it's just like a huge like portfolio almost that's just like about you as a player.
And now, are you doing all that yourself? If you have a 20-point game and there's some really good clips of it, are you putting those clips together and then putting it out on your social, or do you have a team that's working with you to help you with that stuff?
Yeah, so if I'd make I think an end of season highlight video and something else. So I would just like use the huddle clips or like find them and try to make that, which can be a process.
Mhm.
But yeah, the couple I have there, like if my parents happen to have like clips of me doing it, that I can try to put it together. But that's all I've gotten from that.
Okay. And then if you put something out on X or Instagram, whatever, and a coach likes it or replies to it, are you quick about replying back?
I would say, like, it's, like, usually, like, a text or a phone call if they like it, like, if they're not already talking to you, like, definitely email or reach out. I would say, like, timing is important. If they see that, you wanna be fresh in their minds, fresh in what they're thinking about to do that right away.
So I like to talk about it like similar to like the dating game, which I know you haven't played yet because you're still in high school, right? But let's just assume. And so, like, there's the one that you're chasing, and then there's the one that's chasing you, right? So in the world of recruitment, how much of that has been your experience? How much of it has been that it's the ones that you want to go after, who you're saying, "Hey, hi, my name is Reagan, and I want you to know about me," and then they're replying back to you, and how many of it is, "Oh no, this is a school that's like, hi, my name is blank university, Reagan, come pay attention to me." How much is it?
Yeah, I would say, like, a good mix. I would say too, like, especially, like, during the AAU season, for example, like, you get after those live periods, like, you have a lot of calls, a lot of coaches reaching out, and I feel like for the first time, like, I always was, like, super excited, super eager to, like, get to know and, like, build a relationship with all those just because, like, you never know where you would end up, and I just feel like knowing, like, you really find and feel, like, who the right coaches is, who the right program is for you, and just like knowing where you fit. Sometimes if you want something, it's not there for you, or if there's an opportunity for you, just it's really important to me like look at it all completely with like an open mind.
Yeah, that's such great advice. Me being an AD at an NAIA school, we know that ultimately a lot of young people are hanging on for D1, right? They want to hear from the D1 schools first, and then they'll respond to us later. And that's part of the game. We understand that. But what I always tell people is they don't understand that a lot of the coaching world is very small. So a lot of the NAIA coaches have connections at the higher levels. And so if you're ghosting an NAIA coach, that could get to a D1 coach. You know what I mean? And it's all working into your brand, and like, who are you? So I love hearing you say that you've been responsive to people just to build those relationships.
For sure. And I think it's super important too, just like getting to even just talk to a variety of coaches or people. Like you just learn so much more. And I feel like it's important too, in general too, for like development. Like I feel like throughout, like, especially for me, it was like during the summer a lot and then like during high school seasons talking to them a lot. Like you really figure out like different styles, different coaches. And I feel like it really helps you make the right choice.
Are you celebrating all of your successes? Or let's, more than thinking about right now, because you've already committed. So I'll ask you about that too. I don't know if your foot is off the gas now that you've already committed, but like think before you committed. Were you celebrating all of your successes? Like every time you had a good game, were you posting it? Or were you just waiting to the end of the season?
Yeah, I feel like would wait towards like the end of the season. Like maybe if it was after like, you'd have like a spring or a summer, like splitting that in half. Just I feel like a different like I don't know what the right word is here, but just like a balance, I guess, of like both. Like not every time you do something you have to post about it. Not every time there's something that happens, but like, if you get like a write up or if you get something else, just to like share that, but then also too just like not everything you do will be posted. So it's just having like a balance of what you do and then what's posted.
Yeah. So let's talk about money. Like, how much money have you put into the recruiting services that are out there? Are you, going to the pro level of NCSA? Are you doing field level? Like, what advice would you give to parents and athletes about the resources and the tools that are out there to help with recruiting?
Yeah. I would say like each person's different. So, you have to use what like you think is best for yourself. For me, like I really use like my AAU coaches, my high school coaches, and then just kind of like seeing what's going on and then just myself like posting on Twitter, like using that. So I feel like, that worked for me, but for some other people, like that stuff is like really beneficial and makes it a lot easier.
Are you running in a space with other athletes who are committing to this level, or is your friend group more of friends who are just looking up to you as the athlete who made it? Are you hanging with a circle of people who are also high level athletes?
I'd say both. Like definitely like without a lot of the players that I played with, like for example, like I brought up before, like my AU team, like all of us are going somewhere for college. There's a lot of Division 1 kids on our team. So it's like hanging out, working out, training with them, like helps boost you because, everyone's competing, everyone wants to move up. And then also just like being able to hang out with some other people that like want to get there, like younger girls. I just feel like a mix of both is beneficial.
So let's help the coaches, right? Same thing I said. It's hard to think of yourself helping parents, but it's hard to think as an athlete you can help coaches, but you can, right? So let's talk to the coaches who are struggling to get recruits to commit to them. What are the things that you're looking for as an athlete when you're going on these visits, or even in the recruiting process? What are turnoffs for you in the recruiting process that can help coaches?
Well, one thing I did was like on all my visits, like I really went through and like it's so cool to like, yeah, this is a gym, this is a facility, like and like knowing that's cool, but also just realizing like the people behind it. Like I wanted to really see how does the team interact, like how does the team play? Would I fit this style of play? Would I fit this style of girls? If I was around these coaches, these players every day, like how would I feel? And it's not perfect because it's just you like envisioning it, on your visit, but I'd say like that really helped me. And then when I did make my choice, like I was super excited. Like I felt it. Like I didn't have any ounce of question. Like I feel like knowing when you have an ounce of question, that's just where it kind of, you
Mm.
know, you know.
That's crucial. I think that's good life advice too. I mean, I know the first time I bought a house, someone told me that. The realtor told me, they were like, we went to one house and I was like, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, then this isn't the one. I was like, how do you know? They're like, because when it's the one, you won't have a question. You'll be like, how, just where do I sign kind of thing. And I didn't believe them until it happened. You know what I mean? We went into the house and we're like, oh, this is the one. Where do we sign? Kind of thing. And I think that happens a lot. It happens with your jobs. Happens with your significant others, and it happens in the recruitment process. I appreciate that, but I'm going to dig a little deeper. So
Mhm.
let's say you have school A has phenomenal facilities and okay people, and school B has okay facilities and phenomenal people. Which one's the better school?
I would say like definitely school B. Like that's who you're surrounding yourself with. And every day is like a chance for you to get better, for you to improve. And like at the end of the 4 years, like you want to know, like you want to transform as a player and a person. Like you want to become the best version of yourself and obviously keep going from there. So I feel like just being surrounded like by better people itself like helps raise you, helps elevate you, then like helps elevate the other people.
That's awesome. So one of the questions that I know I was excited about asking you is, I think that you and I could do a lot of people a favor right now if we had a healthy, kind debate about a coach's perspective on transfer portal versus an athlete's perspective, right?
Mhm.
I know you have it. You're still going to let's just lay out a scenario. You go to your school, you hate it. The coach is mean to you and it's not what you expected, right? There's a transfer portal. You can jump in it and play somewhere else right away. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I feel like it's a difficult thing, like, be able to have, like, one full opinion about, but like, I just kind of think of it, there's always, like, 2 sides to one story, but also too, like, ultimately, like, your gut knows what's right for you. Like, if it's one of those things where it's like, you can do things to, like, move up and it's just, like, a rough patch, but you'll overcome it, then, that's probably where, you stay. But, like, with the transfer portal available, like, some people just feel like they need to do what they need to do. So I feel like that's, like, a good opportunity for people that need to make a change.
And so my coach's point of view on it is that I couldn't agree with that more. I think that a lot of people should be in there because they've done what you talked about before. I can't remember which question it was, but you talked about having a good self-assessment first, right? Saying, hey, if I done everything that I could do to get better in this situation, and if I have, then moving on is okay. But that portal is full of people that haven't done that process yet. They've simply said, there's adversity and I'm out. And I feel like they're going to jump in a portal. And when they come out of that portal, you know what's going to be waiting for them? Adversity, just in a different color. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And so, what would you say to that? Do you think that's just me? Do I sound like an old person? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with that too because, sometimes the grass isn't always greener on the other side type thing. Like, even though, a situation might not be the best, it's just important to, I feel like, check all the boxes that that's the right choice. Because if it's leaving for like reasons of adversity that you'll just face again, it's not really solving the problem. Like, you have to solve the problem with yourself first.
Yeah, that's crucial. And some of the stuff you talked about in the beginning, right? They're having that right coachable attitude. If you're a coachable athlete and you are good at holding yourself accountable, then I think it's going to be a lot easier for you to figure out if it's time to move on or not.
Mhm.
And if you're always playing the blame game and something is always somebody else's fault, you will have a hard time seeing the forest beside the trees. It could be that it's time to move on. It could be it's time for you to work harder. You know. So no, I appreciate that, and I think that's an important conversation for people to have. The transfer portal is not going anywhere, and the other thing I will say is I think a lot of coaches who are anti-transfer portal are also in themselves anti-accountability.
Mhm.
They don't want to be held accountable to being better coaches, and if you're a better coach, you wouldn't be losing these athletes. What do you say?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I'd say that's probably part of it for sure. Like when you see big floods of people transferring, there might be a reason, obviously. So I feel like, it's like a two-part thing to, people ultimately like it's between. So I feel like it's just one of those things where it's probably like a mix.
Yeah. Yeah, I respect that. Um, all right. So we have gone through okay, so we talked about the social media, we talked about the highlight tapes. What about the communication back and forth? Like well, we talked about that. You said that you replied to everybody. Did you have a template? Did you have an email template that you would send out and then adjust it to each school?
Like at one point in like the way beginning of recruiting, like I sort of had that just been like I was interested on schools like when I was younger. But as I go older, like throughout high school, like I was able to find out like who really wanted me, like what I would want in schools. And I feel like the most important thing is just like going where you're wanted, but also just like loving that. Like you figure out like what you want. So I feel like over time, like it just came into a thing of like each coach had a unique relationship before I obviously made my choice.
It's so cool. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, recruiting is relationships. And you build them over time, and then just like anything, the one that works the best. So let's talk about the one that you chose. Talk to us about the school you chose and what you're excited about and what athlete are they getting.
Yes, so I'm super excited because I committed to Quinnipiac University, and what really stood out to me was just like how the coaches were, and just like the little things just stood out so much. Like I remember the head coach, Coach Fabry, she came to our sectional like semifinal, which was like meant a lot to me. Like I was really glad that she was there. And like there I kind of started to like realize like I really like the school. I really like the people. And then just like throughout my visit, like I could see myself there. I could see myself succeeding. And then just like talking on the phone, like, certain coaches would like call you a lot, call you every week, or like text you multiple times a week. So I feel like overall that was just like that's where they stood out to me a lot. And I'm super excited.
So I put out a meme the other day. I don't know if you saw it on our socials where a guy was joking. He was playing the skit of a coach, and he was like, "Hey, during recruitment process, coaches be like, and they were like, "Hey, when you get here, you're gonna wear number 5, and you're gonna get all the playing time in the world." And then once they get you there, they're like, "Yeah, you're gonna be number 63, and you're on special teams," kind of thing. So talk to me about that. Like, are you worried about that? And will you be patient with the process once you get to the next level?
Yeah, I'll definitely be patient, but I don't it's something, like, I'm not worried about at all. Like, I was able to have an unofficial visit to Quinnipiac and an official visit, and, like, between, like, how I felt about all the coaches and, like, just hearing, like, the girls' perspective, like, from the players, just asking about how things, like, they genuinely really liked her, and, like, for me, it was just such a genuine connection, and I could tell, like, how much of a genuine coach she was, but in general, just, like, the whole coaching staff was so genuine, and it wasn't something that was just, like, oh, like, this is all fake, like, it's, like, really who they are, so that's what really stood out to me.
Do you have any, honestly, do you have any preconceived thoughts on the difference between following a female leader head coach or a male leader head coach?
I've actually, like, majority had, like, head male coaches, like, I think I've had 1 female coach before, so I'm kind of excited to have, like, a new, like, female coach, female role model.
Cool. Yeah, I as a AD, and when I'm looking to hire, I don't even think about it. I
Mhm,
just literally just looking for the best leaders possible, and I do think representation is important. I love when I can find a strong woman leader because I just think there's nothing like it to see,
mhm.
or another woman to learn from another woman. Um, but I see that leadership is leadership, greatness is greatness, and it comes in all forms.
Yeah,
Um,
I couldn't agree more.
yeah. Okay, so all right, we have one question left
Okay.
that we ask all of our people. And it's because one of the things we're trying to do as we're saying, hey, always get better, is we want to normalize insecurity. We don't want
Mhm,
people to be insecure about insecurity. Like
mhm.
everybody has it from time to time. So, what are your insecurities when it comes to your game and like the goals that you want to have? And what's your AGB? Like, what's your next? I want to get better at this. And there's that little voice of self doubt that says, no, no, no.
Yeah, I would say, like, one ongoing thing was just, like, strengthening or, like, just, like, getting bigger, like, it was always, like, one of those things, like, you see big basketball players and, like, um so I really always wanted, like, work on my strengths, it's something I'm still working on, so, like, definitely getting stronger too, like, I've gotten stronger, but it's just something I wanna, like, keep doing, and then just, like, being more of a ball handler too, like, I feel like those are 2 things that I really, like I've been working on, but I also wanna, like, keep going with that.
That's awesome. And all right, so tell us where they can find you. You want to give your handle or anything else? Like, where can we follow you and see what you're up to?
Yeah, so my Twitter, you'll see all my basketball stuff at Reagan_Sipla, and then on Instagram, you can follow me at Reagan Sipla.
Awesome. Awesome. We'll put that up in the description. Reagan, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you giving us 50 minutes of your time talking hoops, attitude, athletics, academics, and those action steps. I wish you the absolute best at the next level. AGB is here to help you any way that we can. And I can't wait for this content to come out.
Yes, me too, and thank you so much. I had a great time.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.